All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into one of Bollywood's most legendary and whispered about mysteries. We're going to break down an argument from our source material that says the real proof of this story, well, it isn't in what was said, but in what was done.
I mean, for over 40 years, right? This one question has just been hanging in the air in Bollywood. Was it just amazing on-screen chemistry that got people talking? A rumor that just grew and grew? Or was it something real? The truth has always felt just out of reach. But the source we're digging into today, it doesn't just hint or suggest. No, it makes this incredibly bold claim. This isn't a maybe, it's a reality. The argument is that the evidence is so clear, it's not a question of if it happened, but how we can finally prove it.
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting, because the proof isn't some hidden diary or a secret photograph. Instead, the entire case, the whole argument, is built by looking at a completely different story. Another iconic Bollywood couple whose very public actions kind of tell us everything we need to know.
So, Section 1, the path of acknowledgement. First, we have to look at the precedent set by Dharmendra and Hema Malini. Our source uses their story as the benchmark, the gold standard for this comparison.
So our source introduces this key idea, and you've got to grasp this to get the whole argument. It's called acknowledged commitment. Now, this isn't just about saying you love someone. It's about taking concrete, public steps to make a relationship legitimate, no matter how controversial it might be. This concept is the key to everything.
And Dharmendra's actions were, well, they were clear, they were decisive, and they were definitely controversial. He was already married, right? But instead of hiding his relationship with Hema Malini, he went all in to formalize it. That reported conversion, that was a legal move so he could have a second marriage, creating a second family that everyone knew about.
So here's the bottom line. No matter how complicated or debated the method was, the action itself gave Hema Malini a defined public standing. She wasn't a secret. She was a second wife, with a legitimate family. It was a status that would define the rest of her life.
Okay, Section 2, the burden of silence. Now let's pivot to the mystery at the heart of all this, the story of Amitabh and Rekha. A story defined not by action, but by a powerful, almost deafening silence.
And here's where you see the total contrast. Our source calls this the burden of unacknowledged love. It's what happens when one person's silence basically traps the other person in limbo, forcing them to carry the weight of the entire public story all by themselves.
Now, this is what's so telling. After the movie Silsila came out, a film that literally put Amitabh, his wife Jaya, and Rekha in a fictional love triangle that felt, well, a little too real, their on-screen work together didn't just fade out. It stopped. Cold. For almost 25 years, two of the biggest stars in the country just never worked together again.
And what you get is this completely lopsided story. On one side, you have Rekha, who spoke about her feelings, sometimes even defending his silence, saying it was to protect his family. And on the other side, nothing. Just a wall of unwavering silence that left her words just hanging there with no confirmation, no denial, nothing. So, Section 3, a friend's plea. What's the thing that ties these two completely different stories together? Well, according to our source, the final piece of the puzzle doesn't come from Amitabh or Rekha. It comes from a friend who was watching it all happen.
This testimony, this is what our source presents as the smoking gun. It's the moment that suggests people on the inside saw these two stories not as different, but as basically the same situation, just with one crucial piece missing.
And get this, the plea comes from Hema Malini herself, the very same woman who had been through this exact kind of public drama and had received that public acknowledgement, felt like she had to step in for her friend.
And this quote, this is the heart of it all. Hema Malini said this to a powerful political figure who was very close to the Bachchan family. Just think about what's being said here. This is a woman who got the public validation, asking on behalf of her friend, why can't you do the same for her? It's an incredibly powerful moment.
All right, Section 4, the verdict of actions. So let's bring all the threads together. The source's whole conclusion really just boils down to comparing the two choices that were made and the two very different destinies that resulted.
And this right here lays out the entire argument, plain and simple. The path Dharmendra chose, public acknowledgement, led to legitimacy and status for Hema Malini. But the path Amitabh chose, public denial, professional separation, left Rekha, according to this analysis, in that state of limbo, carrying that burden of unacknowledged love all on her own.
So in the end, the source is really asking us to look past what was said, or, what wasn't said, and just judge by the actions. And it leaves us with this final, really powerful question. Is the truest proof of a story like this found not in a public confession, but in the lifelong consequences of a choice? The choice to either acknowledge love or to let it be erased by silence?